Welcome to Kingdom Treasures, where we uncover the hidden gems of biblical wisdom. Today we're exploring a remarkable story of grace, tragedy, and divine restoration. As written in 2 Samuel 9:1, "Is there anyone still left of the house of Saul, to whom I can show kindness for Jonathan's sake?" These words of King David set the stage for one of the most touching narratives in Scripture, the story of Mephibosheth. In the grand tapestry of biblical history, Mephibosheth was born into privilege as the grandson of King Saul and the son of Jonathan. His father, Jonathan, and David shared a friendship so profound that they made a covenant before the Lord, promising to show kindness to each other's descendants forever. During this period, Israel was experiencing a dramatic transition of power. Saul's reign was coming to an end, signaling a tumultuous period marked by political shifts. David, the shepherd boy who would rise to fame as a formidable warrior, was destined to become the next king of Israel. Born into the royal household, Mephibosheth spent his early years surrounded by the splendor and luxury of palace life. As a prince of Israel, he was wrapped in an environment where his future seemed incredibly secure and promising. The tragic turn of events came at Mount Gilboa, where both King Saul and Jonathan fell in battle against the Philistines. This devastating news of their demise not only marked a profound personal loss for Mephibosheth, but also sent shockwaves throughout Israel. As recorded in 2 Samuel 4:4, Jonathan, son of Saul, had a son who was lame in both feet. He was 5 years old when the news about Saul and Jonathan came from Jezreel. His nurse picked him up and fled, but as she hurried to leave, he fell and became disabled. His name was Mephibosheth. In the wake of the tragic deaths of Saul and Jonathan, a climate of panic and fear enveloped those connected to the fallen king and his heir. Mephibosheth's nurse, understanding the potential threat that hovered over the young prince's life, acted swiftly. The nurse's intention was simple yet profound, to ensure the safety of Mephibosheth amid the chaos. However, as fate would have it, their rushed escape resulted in a tragic accident. The fall that ensued marked a turning point in Mephibosheth's life. His once secure position in the royal lineage of Saul now turned into one of vulnerability and retreat. The life he once knew, filled with potential and promise, transformed into one of exile and survival, all triggered by that pivotal fall in the nurse's arms. This unfortunate incident marked the beginning of a drastically different life for Mephibosheth, where dreams of leadership and influence within a powerful dynasty fell into shadows. The corridors of power, which were once the playground and future aspiration of the young prince, became distant and unreachable, as his life took a drastically different trajectory, leading to unforeseen hardship and resilience. Mephibosheth found his haven in Lodabar, a location shrouded in its own kind of obscurity. The very name of this place translates to no pasture or no word, a reflection of its barren and desolate nature. Such a place was a stark contrast to the vibrancy and grandeur of the royal courts. Under the protective care of Mashir, son of Amiel, Mephibosheth was offered a refuge, however humble, that provided a semblance of stability in his otherwise turbulent life. Mashir's kindness was a key factor in ensuring that the young prince, now physically handicapped and emotionally scarred, could find moments of peace and safety amidst the broader turmoil that had overwhelmed his life. In this environment, Mephibosheth grappled with the dual burdens of physical disability and the loss of his royal destiny. Life in Lodabar was a stark contrast to his early years, posing daily challenges not only in terms of survival, but also in terms of identity and self-worth. The physical limitations he lived with were compounded by the societal views of the time, which often perceived disabilities as a mark of divine disfavor. Mephibosheth had to navigate these perceptions, struggling internally with feelings of inadequacy and an enduring sense of being an outcast. Furthermore, the political backdrop of the time was fraught with tension. The power struggle between the remnants of Saul's dynasty and the burgeoning kingdom of David heightened the precariousness of Mephibosheth's situation. His royal bloodline meant he lived under the constant fear of being perceived either as a threat or a tool for manipulation by those vying for power. This perpetual uncertainty loomed over him, making his life in exile one of caution and unease, forever marked by the fall that changed everything. Years later, when David had firmly established his kingdom, he remembered his covenant with Jonathan. This moment is significant as it showcases David's unwavering commitment to his promises and loyalty to his friendships. As it is recorded in 2 Samuel 9:3, David asked, "Is there not still someone of the house of Saul, that I may show the kindness of God to him?" David's inquiry was not only an act of remembrance, but a reflection of his character and the values he held dear. When Mephibosheth was brought before David, he fell on his face in fear, perhaps anticipating a grim fate, given his association with the previous royal family. The tension of this encounter is palpable, as Mephibosheth might have expected execution or punishment. Instead, he encountered something extraordinary: grace. This unexpected twist in events illustrates the depth of David's compassion and sense of justice, which went beyond mere political duties. David's response was unprecedented and transformative. Not only did he spare Mephibosheth's life, but he also made a historic decision that would alter the young man's destiny. He restored all of Saul's family lands to Mephibosheth, lands that once held great value and symbolized the royal heritage that Mephibosheth thought was lost forever. Moreover, David commanded that Mephibosheth would eat at the king's table. This wasn't mere charity. Rather, it signified an elevation to royal status. By dining at the king's table, Mephibosheth was being treated like one of the king's sons, a gesture of inclusion and honor. Furthermore, Ziba, a former servant of Saul's household, along with his 15 sons and 20 servants, was appointed to work the land for Mephibosheth. This is more than just an act of benevolence. It symbolizes a restoration of privilege and responsibility. David's kindness offers Mephibosheth not only the means to sustain himself, but also a community to support him. This extraordinary display of kindness mirrors God's grace toward humanity. Just as David sought out Mephibosheth to show him kindness, God actively seeks us out to show us his grace, regardless of our condition or circumstances. This biblical account serves as an enduring lesson about mercy, loyalty, and the transformative power of grace in our lives. The story of David and Mephibosheth continues to inspire with its profound implications about what it means to honor one's commitments and extend unmerited favor. The story of Mephibosheth teaches us profound lessons about God's character and his work in our lives. From palace to poverty and back to palace, his journey reminds us that our circumstances don't define our destiny. As 2 Samuel 9:13 tells us, "And Mephibosheth lived in Jerusalem, because he always ate at the king's table." This simple statement carries deep significance. It speaks of complete restoration and unmerited favor. Mephibosheth's story beautifully reflects God's redemptive plan for humanity. Like Mephibosheth, we too were born into a royal lineage as children of God, fell into brokenness through sin, but can be restored through God's grace. Remember, whatever challenges you face today, God's grace is sufficient. Your past doesn't determine your future, and your limitations don't define your worth in God's eyes. Thank you for joining us today on Kingdom Treasures. If you've been blessed by this message, please subscribe to our channel for more biblical insights.